when I'm in China, somebody will always say to me, you know, 20年前、25年以前，美中关系全国委员会帮我很大的忙，他们安排我去美国去访问啊，或是他们安排这个 every time.
The National Committee on U.S.-China Relations is an American nonprofit educational organization that encourages understandings of the United States and China among citizens of both countries. As it just finished co-hosting a luncheon for Chinese Vice-President Xi Jinping during his visit to Washington, D.C., and gets ready to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Chinese ping-pong team's historic visit to the U.S. this April. Stephen Orlins, current president of the organization, discusses the important role it played in China-U.S. relations.
Today we are privileged to have with us Stephen Orlins, who is the head of the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations. Mr. Orlins, can you tell us what is the National Committee's role in building China-U.S. relations in the last 45 years?
We briefed U.S. government officials on China in 66, 67, 68. In 72, after Kissinger visited China, we served as the host of the Chinese ping-pong team. So at that time, we kind of provided the people-to-people foundation for the diplomatic breakthrough that the two governments had. So that President Nixon, Secretary Kissinger, Chairman Mao, and Zhou Liu did it on a government-to-government basis. And what we did by hosting the ping-pong team is we served as the major organization in terms of laying the intellectual and the people-to-people foundation for that relationship to blossom and grow as it has over the last 40 years. This April, it will be the 40th anniversary of our hosting the Chinese ping-pong team in the United States. The relationship has changed enormously, and the role of the National Committee has changed enormously. If you look at, first of all, we had no relationship in the 60s and the early 70s. From when we hosted the ping pong team into the 80s, even though we established diplomatic relations on January 1st, 1979, the relationship between the peoples was quite limited. So we did things like we hosted Chinese acrobats, we hosted, a wushu tuan, we hosted Li Lianjie when he was a very young martial arts artist. He was less than 10 years old, and there's a picture in our entryway of him, Secretary Kissinger. So we went from that role, which was predominantly in the cultural and educational fields, to today. One thing that has remained the same is the National Committee has hosted every Chinese leader who has come to the United States over these 40 years. Hu Jintao and Xi Jinping. So every generation of leader that has come to the United States, we have hosted. So that part of our role has not changed at all. U.S. growth, economic growth, is in the interest of China. China doesn't want to see America fail, and America doesn't want to see China fail. So I always answer that question in the context of the fundamentals are strong. Will there be problems with trade issues? Yes. Will there be problems on U.S. criticism of China's human rights policies? Yes. Will there be problems relating to transparency in the PLA and U.S. military expenditures? Yes. Will there be problems relating to how we deal with North Korea? Yes. Will there be differences in opinion on how we deal with Iran? Yes. Will there be differences in the South China Sea? Yes. Will there be differences in relation to China's relationship to ASEAN and how they're going to relate? Yes. Relating to the Trans-Pacific Partnership? Yes. There will be all of these differences, but they are not core. They're not fundamental to the relationship. There will be problems, but they will not affect the fundamentals of the relationship, which will remain strong, because ultimately America needs China's success, and China needs America's success.